It is the month of Easter, and I decided to resurrect, no pun intended, an idea that we introduced last Easter. It was actually a catchphrase that I introduced last Easter, and I have to admit, it didn't catch on. It didn't take hold. And I thought, it's a really good catchphrase, and it's a really good concept, and I want it to take hold. So maybe if I devote an entire month to it, that it'll sink in and we'll get it. So this month's theme is Easter moments, having Easter moments. And that's our catchphrase, having an Easter moment. So if you were here last Sunday, you now know what an Easter moment is. But I won't ask you to repeat it because it's a little bit complex. But next Sunday, there may be a little pop quiz. So I'm just saying you might want to pay attention here. That's a possibility. It's a possibility. But you got to get the answer right. All right. So here is the definition of an Easter moment. An Easter moment is that moment that we consciously, deliberately, intentionally let something die so that we can give birth to, so that we can rise up in a heightened spiritual awareness, in a new level of consciousness, and in an expanded way of revealing our divine nature and sharing our gifts. So you've got to do all that for the chocolate. Now, right? Or I suppose if you got in the ballpark, we might do that as well. Let me say it again. An Easter moment is the moment we consciously, intentionally let something die so that we can rise anew in a heightened spiritual awareness, in a new consciousness, or in an expanded way of expressing our divine nature and sharing our God-given gifts. And really, that is our metaphysical, meaning beyond the physical, beyond the factual, our metaphysical interpretation of the experience our master teacher Jesus had that we acknowledge and honor at Easter, which is the dying away of the old so that the new, heightened, expanded consciousness can rise. So that's why it's called an Easter moment. And every week this month, we are going to have an Easter moment about something in a different area in our lives. And then we will anchor it in an activity, in a sacred ritual or activity to really bring it on home. Last week, we let die a belief we might have been thinking about ourselves. And we did that with beautiful candles and that beautiful process. I've gotten some feedback from a lot of people about how powerful that was for us. We will have an equally powerful yet different experience today on another topic. And that topic is, in my mind, a place where the rubber often meets the road in our spirituality. It's where our physical and spiritual beliefs kind of go, they never quite connect and gel. And that is in the area of our financial abundance experience and our spiritual belief about financial abundance. So I'm not asking you if you've had a little not meeting of the minds there, but do you know someone who maybe has some spiritual beliefs about abundance but isn't having the physical experience that is living those beliefs? Do you know anybody? Okay, good. I'm not asking if it's you. I'm just asking if you know anybody. Now, I want you to know that this is a topic that you want to talk about. Why do I say that? Because in our survey that we took in January, and in the questions that we asked on the last Sunday of January, many questions came up about abundance. And I just want to give you a couple of them so you can get the flavor of the comments and the questions that were made about abundance. One of them was, how can science and mind help me change my thinking to create greater abundance? Another one was really an experience a person was having, but I hear the question in it. Every time I get ahead and have money in the bank, something happens and the money is gone. I am grateful for the money I have, but my desires are bigger than my bank account, and I feel God will only allow me just enough to get by. And another one, what is the biggest obstacle in your, it says, but meaning my opinion, that keeps people from manifesting abundance consistently? So those are the questions that are on your mind today. We are going to answer all of them, and then, and then have an opportunity to anchor what we discuss in a sacred, beautiful experience. So we have a lot to do. Strap in. Are you ready? All right, I'm already telling you right now we're going to go long, so that's just going to be the way it is. So, all right, are we good with that? Say yes, please. Say yes. Thank you. So here is often what we have. We have our spiritual beliefs in our beautiful Science Mind teachings. We have some fundamental beliefs about abundance. We take at his word what the master teacher Jesus said when he said, "I am come that they might have life and have it more abundantly." We take the master teacher Jesus at his word when he said, "Consider the lilies, how they grow, they toil not, they spin not, and yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothes the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast in the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith?" We take Jesus at his word when he said, "Fear not, little flock, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." We say yes in our words anyway. I don't think we say it in our consciousness. We say yes to Ernest Holmes' words in the textbook when he writes, we must learn to come under that divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled. Never was there a cosmic famine. And we say yes in our words, anyway, to Charles Fillmore's words in his book Prosperity. And this is my favorite quote out of that entire book. "The spiritual substance from which comes all visible wealth is never depleted. It is right with you all the time and responds to your faith in it and your demand on it. It is not affected by our ignorant talk of hard times, though we are affected because our thoughts and words govern our demonstration. Pour your living words of faith into the omnipresent substance, and you will be prospered though all the banks in the world closes their doors." So we give lip service that we believe those things. We say, yes, I believe that, I believe that, I believe that there's more than enough, I believe that there is more than enough, I believe that's a spiritual truth, I think there is way more than enough for me to meet my wants, my needs, my requirements, and my dreams. And then our experience is that we struggle paying our bills, let alone have enough to spend, to spare, and to share. So we have this dichotomy, if you will, this disconnect between our spiritual beliefs and our human experience. So this morning I want to marry those. I want to bring those together by doing three things. The first one is to perhaps give you a new way of thinking about being in relationship with abundance. That's number one. Number two is to get rid of or look at some of the things that keep us from having that relationship. And finally, then get rid of those things and install something new. So as I said, that's a lot to do, but we're going to do it because it's powerful and important, and I want you to get the fullness of it. So the first idea, being in relationship with abundance in a different way, in a new way. In her book, Trance of Scarcity, author Victoria Castle wrote this: "We often think of abundance as being like a river, flowing but moving in only one direction. That image is misleading because abundance is much smarter than that. Abundance renews and replenishes itself, flowing in a circular pattern, the same way the breath moves. Each part of the cycle naturally makes way for the next." So imagine, if you will, a circle. It is our circle of abundance. And I want you to think of it as a clock that has actual numbers on it, because we're going to place some things around this clock that comprise the circle of abundance, which I want us today to be in relationship with. I don't want it for just today. I want us always to be in relationship with this circle of abundance. So we're going to start at high noon, 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. the aspect, the dimension, the quality that we want to become a living embodiment of, to quote Ernest Holmes, is the concept of alignment. Alignment with what? Well, alignment with what we just talked about, the spiritual truths I just said in a variety of ways, but the bottom line of that is that we live in a universe of infinite good and infinite supply. That's what we want to align our thinking with. It starts with our thinking. We may not even quite feel it yet, but by the time we get all the way around the circle, we will. But we start by at least thinking the idea that we live in a universe of infinite good, infinite abundance, that supply is unlimited because the source from which supply comes is the source of all things that is eternal. Therefore, there can be no limitation whatsoever on the flow of God in, as, and through all things, including our financial abundance. Aligned also with the concept that you really are always already in that circle of abundance. You're already there. It's only in your mind that you take yourself out. But just align with the idea that you are already there. So that all sounds good and well and wonderful. And the question is, how do you know if you're not in alignment? Let me give you a couple of telltales that we're not in alignment. And here's the first one. And again, I'll only ask, do you know somebody who does this? Worrying about money. You don't have to say if that's you. But do you know somebody who might on occasion worry about having enough, or really more like not having enough? If one honest person, thank you. If we are worried about whether or not we have enough, we have just ejected ourselves from that circle in our consciousness. We are out of alignment. Boom, right then. If we are trying to figure out how to get the money, how to do this or that, if we're in our figuring out mode, we've just sent ourselves out of the circle. If we're in the mode of, I have to make this happen, it's me, it's on me to do this, we have ejected ourselves out of alignment. So those are some good ways to know if you're in alignment or not. And I want to give the example very briefly without going into any of the gory, expansive details, because many of you have heard those gory, expansive details, and we don't need to do them today. But just an example for me around this very topic, which was a profound learning and awareness. On May 9th, 2012, I know the date exactly, a pair of high heel shoes and a slippery floor in Safeway, we had a relationship. we had a serious relationship that resulted in a slip and fall, which resulted in three fractured bones in this body. And lots of huge spiritual growth came out of that incident. But the one that is relevant to us this morning is the alignment idea. Because when all was said and done and the bills were all coming in and the insurance had done its thing, Lonnie and I wound up owing about $8,000 from that. All right. Here was my mindset. I have to figure out how to get that paid. I have to make it happen. I have to do this and, rob Peter to pay Paul, that kind of thing. I have to do it. I'm the money person in our house. Lonnie is like, okay, you can handle it. It's good. So I'm the one feeling like I have to do it and it's mine to do and I have to make it happen. And this is not in alignment. And did I worry about? Yeah. Not in alignment. Now, the fact of the matter is I did figure it out. I did make it happen. I got it. It got paid in a fairly short period of time. Yay, great. That's done. I didn't learn anything in that one. I learned a lot I got a huge growth out of that whole thing, but that financial piece wasn't it. I just got her done. All right? Let's fast forward 7 months. Didn't know this would happen in May, but in December of that same year, Lonnie had an 8-hour open heart surgery. Huge surgery. How blessed we are that he sits there vital and healthy and fantastic, right? That also had tons of spiritual growth opportunities, and the financial one was this. when all was said and done, we got a contact with a hospital who told us that after insurance has paid and this and everything is paid, we will owe not one, but $200,000. Oh, well, that's a little bigger than 8,000. I can't figure that one out. I can't make that one happen. No way. So what it caused both of us together to do is to go deep in what do we really believe. Deep into that. Got a lot of support, a lot of help in expanding our consciousness, in surrendering, in aligning with the source of infinite good, to which $200,000 is nothing. It may look big to us, but to source, it's nothing. We had to align. We had to align in order to have anything occur with this. And without going into the details, and they're fun and exciting, and I'll tell them to you if you don't know sometime later, but that $200,000 went to that much. And I kid you not, I will put my hand on a science in my textbook and swear that it went down to 200,000 went down to zero. Because of alignment. That is the power of alignment. So we align. That's the 12 o'clock on our circle of abundance is alignment. About 2 o'clock is what comes out, and everything on our circle comes out of the previous one. Out of an alignment with knowing that there's infinite source available to us at every moment to bring forth the supply, there is the concept of generosity. Because when we know that we are connected to an infinite source, then we have freedom to be who we are, which is an expression of that which is infinitely generous spirit. We then move into our own space of infinite generosity. And generosity gives us, it's like an exhalation that gives us the space to inhale. The beautiful African mystic, Brother Ishmael Tete, we've had him with us here at CLF a couple of times. He always says when he invites us into meditation, usually we say, okay, take a deep breath. He doesn't say take a deep breath. He says, give a full exhale. Give a full exhale so that you have room to take that deep breath. That's what generosity does. It's like the full exhale. And just like we know that when we fully exhale, there is an infinite amount of air to replenish us, so when we are in that consciousness of generosity, can we know that as we give, that we are infinitely filled and replenished by source. Generosity not only doesn't diminish us, it in fact fills us, creates a space for us to be filled. Charles Fillmore writes in Prosperity, there is no reason why we should not have a continuous, even flow of substance, both in income and outgo. If we have freely received, we must also freely give and keep substance going, confident in our understanding that our supply is unlimited and that it is always right at hand in the omnipresent mind of God. Generosity then moves to about, say 5 o'clock on our circle, which is attracting. As we are generous and come from a consciousness of unlimited supply, we really are coming from a consciousness of we already have, right? If we think it's infinite supply, then we already have. And there is nothing that is attractive as a consciousness of I already have. To call into our experience that which we want, need, think we need, or desire. If we have a consciousness of I want, I need, we are putting out there a repelling energy that pushes our good away because all we're saying is I want and I need it, and that is like just a opposite magnet, sending it away. Knowing I already have it attracts it into our lives. So we absolutely become an attractor when we are living from a state of gratitude. So attraction is our next step on our clock. The next one we're going to come around to, say about 7 o'clock, is the ability to receive. The ability to receive. Ability to receive. We can attract it in through our knowing that it's already there, but we also then have to receive it. Ernest Holmes says, principle is ready to fill everything because it is infinite. So it is not a question of its willingness or its ability. It is entirely a question of our receptivity. How receptive are we? Are we willing to receive our good, even when it doesn't look like we thought it was going to look? There's a way we shut it off so fast. It's supposed to look like this, right? It's supposed to fit in that box, but whoo, there it is right there. Oh, no, that's not it. That can't be it because it doesn't look like this. That is it. Receive it. Another way we repel receiving is and you can just check this. If somebody gives you a gift, maybe it's a lavish gift. What if somebody were to offer, just a little check. What if somebody right now were to walk up to you and offer to give you a round-trip ticket to wherever it is in the world you want to go? Okay, so I'm like, somebody you're like, yeah, bring it on. I'll bet you there's one or two who's going, oh, I couldn't take that. No, that's too much. What would they want? What do they want in return? You know, we get all that business going on. Receive. Be open to receive. We must be open to receive. So that's about 7 o'clock on our circle of abundance. Let's take it to 10 o'clock, which is gratitude. Deep and abiding gratitude. Gratitude puts us in a beautiful consciousness of connection and oneness. Gratitude in this moment for what we've received, what we're about to receive, what our life is. Just an attitude of gratitude is such a high vibrational energy, so high and so attractive. I love this statement from Eckhart Tolle. He said, "It is through gratitude for the present moment that the spiritual dimension of life opens up to us." It is through gratitude for the present moment that the spiritual dimension of life opens up to us. So as we open up to the spiritual dimension of life in gratitude, we take us right back up to high noon and to alignment. So there's your answer to the question, how can our science of mind teachings help us create greater abundance? We align with spiritual truth. We are generous of spirit, not out of obligation, but out of an all-sufficiency and overflowing knowing that we are already provided for. By attracting our good, by knowing it is already there. And by recognizing, I just want to say this about attracting, by recognizing even in the moment when you don't see whatever it is, if it's not physically in your life yet, recognizing that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Yeah, say that again, right? Because that's a deep one. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Yeah, that's an attracting place to be. So we live in attracting, and then we absolutely receive, and we open ourselves up to receive in deep and abiding gratitude, hearts open with gratitude, which just takes us right back up to alignment. That is how we live in that circle of abundance. So what kicks us out? What can kick us out? It's the stories that we tell ourselves that kick us out. The stories that we have going on in our heads. I'm going to give you a list of themes for these stories, knowing that if that is one of your stories, then you probably have a whole big long thing around it, because we have a theme of our story, then we create all sorts of, tangential ideas and cast of characters for our story, and then we see our story playing out in our lives all the time, because our stories are self-fulfilling prophecies, because that is how it works. So I want you to just think for a moment. As I'm saying these, don't have to say it out loud, but do any of these resonate with you as maybe like, oh dear, that's my story? Because just in a moment, we're going to have a chance to have an Easter moment about your story. So here are some of them. This list could go on actually forever, but here's just a short list. I never have enough. Life is unfair. If I have good, someone else won't. I have to work hard for everything I get. It's just too late for me. I don't deserve abundance. No one in my family ever amounted to much, and so I won't either. Life is hard. God will only allow me just enough to get by. That was in one of the questions. I want to tell you, if you're sitting here and ask that question, that's a story you're telling yourself. Today's the day to let that go. I can't ask for help. I have to hold on to everything I have. It's all a matter of luck. Nothing ever works out for me. You can't have money and have a spiritual life. I'm not responsible enough to hold on to money, or I can't attract clients or good work in my life, on, and on. Do you see anything in there that might be your story possibly? Or did it trigger another story that you might be telling yourself? Here's the thing about stories. Don't ask whether or not that story is true. Don't bother with that question, because I'm going to tell you it's not. It's not true. It's just your story. Don't ask whether it's the right story. That suggests there's only one right story, and there's an infinite number of stories. So don't ask that. It doesn't help either. This is the question to ask about our stories. Is this story useful? Does this story move me into a life that I desire? Does this story put me firmly in consciousness in my circle of abundance? That's the only question we want to ask about our stories. Is it useful? Does it support me? So, this morning I want us to have a twofold experience of letting go of a story and then of living from that circle. And if you would like to close your eyes, I invite you to do that. And before you take a deep breath, fully exhale. And then now breathe deeply in. Feel how much deeper that breath got in there? So if any of those story themes that I mentioned resonated with you, or if you identified another one, but nonetheless one that has been running in you, today is the day to have an Easter moment about it. Today is the day to let it die, so that you might experience a heightened spiritual awareness, a new level of consciousness, and an expanded way of expressing your divine nature and your gifts in the world. So just identify now in your mind the story or stories that you got clear about here today. And I want you to see them in your mind's eye as something. Put these stories or the story in a symbol. Whatever that symbol is. Doesn't matter what it is. Just give it a symbol. So this thing that you're seeing now in your mind's eye represents an impoverishing story that you have told yourself, or stories that you have told yourself. And as you see the symbol in your mind's eye right now, I want you to see it shrinking and getting smaller and smaller and smaller, so that it is so small that you can turn your palm up and it will rest very easily in the palm of your hand. So literally, physically, turn your palm up and lift your palm up a bit so it's about in alignment with your mouth. And see that diminished size of your story or stories. It's still there. You can still see it, but it's little. It's in your palm of your hand. And now again, exhale. Take a deep inhale. And then blow that out of your hand. And you see it dissipate, just like a dandelion would dissipate if you were to blow on it. All those little fibers breaking up and being dispersed in the air, getting farther and farther apart, and then finally you don't see them at all. That's what has just happened with your symbol of your story or stories. And if you look back in your hand and you see a remnant of the story still there, well, just exhale again. Take another deep breath, inhale, and just give it another blow. And that did it. That sent it away, completely away. It's gone. And you can rest your hand down now. But as you do that, you see in your mind's eye this beautiful golden circle that you are now in the middle of. You are in the middle now of the circle of abundance. And you are at 12 o'clock. You're at high noon. You are aligned right now with spiritual truth of the all-sufficiency and the eternal goodness and the eternal supply of God. You're there. And you're going to go to 2 o'clock and have an experience in a very tangible way in just a moment of generosity of heart, generosity of spirit. In just a moment, not yet, but wait until I give instructions. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a card out of the pew pocket in front of you. There are cards there with envelopes. The card says, "What do you love?" Focus on that. Thank you, artist Alan, for designing those and gifting us with those cards. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a card and an envelope out of the pew pocket in front of you. And in very legible handwriting, let me underscore that, in very legible handwriting, you are going to write an abundance blessing, an affirmation, an empowering thought that someone else in this room is going to receive. Don't know yet who it is. Someone else in this room is going to receive. Thus, the legibly written request. You can sign your name or not, your choice. Just write from the fullness of who you are, from that sense of an overflowing goodness that you are and have. Write this blessing to someone else. You can do that now. I'm going to be quiet. Don't write a book. Make it brief. We only have a few minutes to do this. If you need a card, we have ushers that are walking around with cards. If you need a card, just raise your hand, an usher will come to you. You're invited to write an affirmation blessing and just words of abundance, anything you'd like to offer someone else. Offer someone else a gift of your abundance consciousness right now. Because you're in the middle of that circle of abundance. And as you write, feel the overflowing abundance that you are and how you just want to pour it out and give it to someone else. That's what's coming out on the page. When you're complete, of course, put it in the envelope. Seal it up if you like. Remember, don't write a book. And then I want you to pass it to the center, the person on the center of the aisle. Just pass it to the center of the aisle. right, our ushers are going to come forward and take those envelopes. If you're on the end, just give a blessing to all of those cards. Just take them all and give them a blessing. Fran? Oh, you're not doing this side. Sorry, never mind. All right. Everybody get theirs done. One more here. Because the fun thing that we're going to do now is we're going to pass those baskets like we pass the offering, and you get to take something out. That doesn't usually happen, right? That'd be a pretty fun exercise to do actually with money, wouldn't it? I actually like that a lot. All right, so let's bring those baskets back up. You mixed them around, I know, and let's just pass it just like it's the offering plate and take one. If you put one in, take one out. If you didn't put one in, don't take one out, okay? And we'll get this side as well. Don't worry this side, they'll get up to you. And once you get your envelope, you're invited to open it now. If you, and they're like little kids, can I open it now? Yes, you can open it now. You can absolutely open it now. All right. So I know we've still got this section of the room. There, it's coming forward. I'm watching it. It's coming forward. Yeah, we're practicing patience and just being in the moment. How lovely is that? No, we don't. This whole section hasn't had it yet. Start from the front, Diana. Come start from the front. Okay, yay, here we go. Here we go. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. Here it comes. I love controlled chaos. Isn't it great? We got more up front. All right. So as we're finishing up, as we're just finishing up the last few people getting there, is everyone, let's move into the silence. Take a deep breath. And take your card, whether you've opened it or not, and as it comes to you, and just place it to your heart. And let us just rejoice and celebrate this circle of abundance that we have firmly placed ourselves in this morning, as we have rejected and had an Easter moment about the story that keeps us out. And we have put ourselves completely in consciousness back in alignment, generosity, attracting, receiving, gratitude back to alignment. Here we are. We celebrate that this is so. We celebrate now the physical, tangible abundance that we experience in our lives. We call it good. We know that it is done. And together, with enthusiasm, passion, and belief, we say, and so it is. Amen.